Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead to the EPL action coming up this weekend. Big games, big implications. Newcastle takes on Arsenal. And of course, Manchester United will be looking to get back-to-back win when they play away to Brentford. Now, joining me this evening to preview these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returned into the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Good to be back indeed, Christoph. And we saw some Europa League action taking place over there. A number of English teams were in action. Aston Villa, uh, Nottingham Forest. What was your take on those Europa League fixtures, Christoph, just to kick things off?
I actually did not watch any of the Europa League. I didn't even remember about them.
Indeed, it's the lesser of the two competition. Champions League is where
Uh,
all the
well,
attention is.
it's the lesser of the bigger two, but it's three competitions now. So,
Well, that's true. You also have the European Conference League, the one that
r-
Chelsea won.
right.
Yeah, so they're all competing for attention. But yeah, some interesting results over there. Forest drawing, I believe,
Oh,
and I
just
believe Aston Villa may have picked up a win. I'm not 100% sure, but
yeah.
mixed
Looking at the
result,
score
mixed bag.
now. Looking
I
at the
would say.
score
I
now.
believe
Aston Villa.
Spurs. Yep. So interesting result, but. Those teams should be back in action over the weekend. But number of games to get through, Christoph, number of games to get through. And the biggest of these games, in my opinion, the most high profile game is that game Newcastle plays host to Arsenal. Liverpool, leading the league, have a healthy 5 point cushion. At this stage, even though it's early, it will be a massive task to overcome an 8 point deficit, Christoph. Talk to us about this game and Arsenal's intention going into this matchup with Newcastle.
I mean, well, it's a very tough game for Arsenal. If you had looked at Arsenal's fixtures at the beginning of the season, the first 10 games of the season are all, last season's heavy hitters, former champions and so on. We've seen them play Liverpool, Man City already, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. So it's just another heavy hitter from last season. Arsenal kind of failed to beat Newcastle, most notably in the Carling Cup, where they picked up back-to-back defeats, Isak and Anthony Gordon doing the damage. And Newcastle seems to be a bit of a bogey team for Arsenal and probably for Mikel Arteta in this one. I think this could potentially be a very tough game. Obviously, Newcastle are not as good without Isak, but they do have Voltamid, who is a 6'6" striker. So there is a lot of set piece opportunity as well as crosses. So he doesn't even have to jump for the ball. So it could be a very interesting game.
Definitely should be a very hotly contested match if the performance that Newcastle had versus Barcelona is anything to go by. I think that may very well be a very good approach to take against this Arsenal team as well. Pretty much high press man to man. And to me, it had a tremendous impact on Barcelona. Even though Barcelona ran away winners, it took 2-1. It took a wonder strike by Rashford to really break that deadlock, and Newcastle did rally, pull back a goal, but it was too little too late. But I thought the approach was a good one. And if they can translate that sort of approach versus this Arsenal team, they may very well get a positive result in this game. So it's definitely interesting times ahead, especially in this matchup. But in terms of player selection, Christoph, will we be seeing Eze from the start in this game?
It's a game where you would expect that he should be starting. I think given Newcastle potentially will go with a high press, you might want to bypass the press by going long. So you could have like well, Saka coming back from injury, but with Madueke out, you would expect Saka will start this game. Martinelli will probably start, and I think Eze should start as well.
in that
Uh,
number 10 road.
in the number 10 role. I mean, if Martinelli is going to start, then obviously you put him inside in that 10 role, and we
So
know
it would be a big shock to you then if the players you're outlining currently don't start.
it would be a big shock to me if he went with the midfield of Zubamendi, Rice, and Marino again. To be honest, I think he should go more attacking. Not that I feel like that midfield is a failure or anything like that. I just think it's better to get goals and then have the opposition chasing, which opens up more space for you to get more goals.
Ah, yeah, definitely. I think everyone will be looking on as to which 11 Arteta selects for this fixture. Will it be a defensive-minded one, as he did versus Liverpool and Man City? Or as you outlined, will it be an offensive-minded one,
I mean,
where
I
you're
don't
taking the game to Newcastle, trying
I
to
don't
score, and then, holding them at
necessarily
bay?
I don't necessarily see the midfield combination of Marino, Rice, and Zubamendi as a defensive because if you recall, last season Marino
But
did
aren't
play.
they three defensive mids?
If you recall, last season Marino played several games as centre forward, scoring a number of
Yeah,
goals.
but his
Uh,
his
Declan
recognized position
De
and
Declan Rice is also no longer a defensive
yeah, but
midfielder.
all right, let's go back. Let's rewind. Let's rewind. When Arsenal signed Declan Rice, what did they sign him as?
They signed him to be a defensive midfielder. He
Okay.
has played
When
probably less
Arsenal
than
signed
5 games in that role.
Zubimendi, when Arsenal signed
No,
Zubimendi, what did they
I,
sign him as?
we're not arguing about Zubamendi.
Right.
Zubamendi is
And
a
when
defensive
they signed
midfielder.
Moreno, what did they sign Moreno as?
Marina was definitely signed as a defensive
Right.
midfielder
So it's
and
3D
has
mid as their standard
he has prob
position. Their
he
role may have
has
evolved
he
as time have
has
progressed, but in terms of what they initially came into the team as, they all came into the team as three defensive midfielders.
hold on. All right, let me ask you a question. What is Yaya? Who Yaya Toure was what?
He was a central midfielder.
He was a defensive midfielder.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean your role can't evolve. But what the point I'm making is all three of those players were signed as defensive mid. So to me, that's their default position. And then their role may have evolved. So, for example, Moreno's role when Arsenal were forced to play him as a centre forward, his role somewhat evolved. Same thing with Rice. Rice came in as a D mid, but now he's more playing maybe a box to box type position. So, nothing is wrong with that. But all I'm saying is, to me, if you're gonna start all three of those midfielders, not to say it's a bad midfield, but to me, it juxtaposes a position of being cautious, of being defensively cautious. Because chances are these players will default to their try, test, and proven position. So it's a cautious approach. To me, unleash the shackles. As you said, start Martinelli, start Eze, give yourself an opportunity to score, put Newcastle under pressure, especially uh, away from home. So time will tell, but I mean, definitely Newcastle is no pushover, and Eddie Howe should be coming up with a plan. As you said, they had Arsenal's ticket in the Carabao Cup last season, and hopefully they will obviously be plotting to get one over on them again in this game. But in terms of your predicted scoreline, Christoph, enough said. We've laid the foundation. How are you now officially predicting this game? What's your call in terms of a final result?
Um, I think Arsenal to win 2-0. Despite how good I think Newcastle will come into this game, Arsenal still have the best defense in the league last 2, 3 seasons running and have only conceded what 2 goals. One very good free kick from Sobasai and a very good counter attack from Man City. So definitely going with Arsenal to win. I think Newcastle will struggle to get opportunities in this game.
I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna call another draw for Arsenal in this one, Christoph. I think I've seen enough from this Newcastle team, especially in terms of how they approach that Barcelona fixture in front of their home fans. And I think they have enough quality in that team to really trouble this Arsenal defensive line. Uh, Set piece wise, they do have some tall players, the likes of Burn, as you mentioned, Voltimad, to us potentially cope with the Arsenal corners. We know that is a big weapon which Arsenal utilizes to a great degree of success. Pope is also a tall goalkeeper as well. And if they take a page from Donnaruma's book, punch, hurry, harass, command your box, then he should be able to negate the Arsenal corners along with the help of those tall defenders as well. Shar, Batman, etc. So for me, I think Newcastle has enough to hurt this Arsenal team. I'm going 1-1. Both teams to score, but at the end of the day, I'm going to call this one to draw. What interesting games ahead, Christoph? Interesting games ahead. Manchester United, they take on Brentford away from home. We're just gonna dive quickly into these games, give a quick synopsis, and of course, tell our viewers and subscribers who you believe will win these games in terms of a predicted scoreline. So, Brentford at home versus Manchester United. How are you seeing this one?
Brentford at home versus Manchester, and I think I would go with Brentford for this one. I'm not sure.
Brentford. Wow.
You
Wow.
said Amarin has never gotten back-to-back wins. This could potentially be one of those cases. They beat Chelsea, but I thought it was a lucky win, to be honest. I don't think like they outplayed Chelsea or anything like that, in my
Right, right,
opinion.
right. Plus, probably the 10 men played an important role in that result as well.
Granted, they also lost a man in the first half, but still, yeah, the 10 men, definitely played a role, having to call upon your second string goalkeeper, you know. I'm not convinced by United at the moment. Like I said, they came out good against Arsenal, but that's United. They always seem to play well against Arsenal, but then against everybody else, it's.
Plus, I mean, that game appears to be such a long way away as well, Christoph. We are now into game 6 of the
Game
season.
6.
There have been 5 other games in addition to that loss to Grimsby Town over there in the Carabao Cup as well. Let's not forget that defeat. So it's been a number of
Uh,
games in between that performance versus Arsenal and where Manchester United are now
I
in terms
mean,
of their last result, a win versus
for
Chelsea.
for me, that Grimsby game is pretty significant, especially because that was a second string Grimsby team. Those were not Grimsby starters in that game, so.
Interesting stuff there from
You know,
Christoph,
I'm not sure at the
Rubbing
moment
salt
that
into the wound there, Christoph. I see you.
I'm not sure if Man United are Premier League level. All right, like I said
Well,
at the big,
I think you're pushing it a bit too far there. I
no,
mean, they did just beat the World Cup champions.
I, I think Chelsea won the Club World Cup on Shaka now. I think, like I said, I think PSG went into that game thinking they had already won, and Chelsea essentially shell shocked them. Cole Palmer double. We know, as we've seen all of last season, and well, not all of last season, but the second half of last season, teams targeted Cole Palmer, and as such, Chelsea struggled. Um, Even so far this season, there have been a couple of games. Cole Palmer was out there doing well, but then they started struggling again. So I think it's potentially a similar situation for Chelsea. Chelsea. I don't want to say luck, but it felt like they lucked their way to that Club World Cup.
Well, let's not dwell on that. Let's not digress, though, Christoph. Let's not digress. Let's
But
keep the
again, what
focus
I was saying,
on,
what I was saying, at the
yeah,
beginning of the season, I said Man United's target first of all must be to make the top 10.
right.
Right now, they don't look like a team who will finish in the top 10 right now.
Got you. So what's your official call for this game versus Brentford?
I
What's your
think
score line?
Man United can score. I think Brentford will win 2-1.
Brentford to win 2-1. For this one, I am gonna go on the fence again and call another draw. I think this game may very well wind down to a 2-2 draw. So for me, as mentioned in when we spoke about Manchester United in the last podcast, history is there. Manchester United under Amorim in the EPL is yet to win back-to-back games, and I think that trend will continue. So I'm gonna go for a draw. Until that trend is broken, I'm always gonna follow the historical pattern. And the historical pattern is saying Brentford to win or draw. So I'm gonna go with that as well. So that should be an interesting watch. Then we also have Chelsea at home versus Brighton. This is a team you were speaking of earlier, Christoph, in terms of the shock value and beating PSG in that Club World Cup. For this game, Chelsea are coming back from defeat versus Manchester United. They did bounce back midweek in getting a win in the Carabao Cup, I believe, with a second string team, you could say. They now face a Brighton team which has been very unpredictable all season, up and down. Sometimes they perform well, beating Man City a couple of weeks ago, and then at other times they perform poorly, losing or drawing. And this is a game which is very difficult to predict from a Brighton perspective. Of course, Chelsea will be without their main number one goalkeeper. That may play a factor. Cole Palmer potentially still not 100%, but I can't see anything in this game other than a Chelsea win. So for me, I'm gonna call this one a Chelsea win. Chelsea to win 2 goals to 1. What says you?
Yeah, I still think Chelsea wins this one. Brighton, the unpredictability, as well as the fact that Brighton has not beaten Chelsea in their last 7 games. It has been some of them have been very close, high scoring, but Brighton hasn't beat Chelsea since I think 2023. So I I think that trend continues, and I'll go with Chelsea to win.
Chelsea to win. You're giving us a score?
Um, 2-1. I think I'm not sure the defending and the goal keeping situation for them, so I'll go with 2-1. I think Brighton can score, and I think Chelsea can score. I don't know if Cole Palmer is injured or he'll be back.
Well, the next game, Christoph, is a game of the matchup of the unbeaten teams in the league. And the two teams I speak of, Crystal Palace at home versus Liverpool. Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. I'll allow you to take the first strike on this one, Christoph. What says you about this game and who do you see winning?
So this is an interesting game because Crystal Palace did give Liverpool a very hard time in the Community Shield. I think that game could have easily gone the other way. I felt like the goals that Liverpool scored in that game were a bit lucky. I think it was Ekitike and Salah.
Oh, yeah, I think Salah scored a penalty,
Salah.
if memory serves me correct. Or was it a
Okay.
penalty save? I think Salah penalty may have been saved in that game, if memory serves me correctly. It's been such a while, I'm not sure. But I
It's
mean,
been
at
a
the
while.
end of the
I
day,
remember the Ekitike goal though. There was like
yeah, I think Salah had a penalty save some time ago. I'm not sure if it was against Crystal Palace, but for sure, Crystal Palace were the ones who came out lifting that Community Shield. I believe they won that in penalties. So they do have a psychological edge going into this game in that they did beat Liverpool, quote and unquote beat. It went down to penalties, but it's still a defeat. They are the ones with the Community Shield, which seem to be a big trophy these days, Christoph. These Community Shield seem to have taken new meaning, new prestige. I'm seeing it being highlighted in the CVs of various managers. So it has definitely taken on a new reverence, so to speak. So Crystal Palace, winners of was it the FA Cup? And now winners of the Community Shield. So they definitely have a psychological edge. And of course, there's a little histrionics between the two teams as well. Gehi was to move to Liverpool on deadline day, but that move fell through as well. So there's a little histrionics there. Both teams are yet to lose in the EPL also. But for me, Christoph, you seem to be hitching and calling this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it. I'm gonna call it for Liverpool. I think Liverpool unbeaten run will continue over the period. Crystal Palace has lost Eze and they have also lost Sar in terms of injury, who are their two main attacking threats. Mateta is still there and he is a top quality forward. So while I expect Liverpool to win, Liverpool's recent defensive record isn't anything to write home about. So Crystal Palace should score, but I'm gonna call this 3-1 for Liverpool, Christoph. So Liverpool to win, 3 goals to 1. What says you?
I think this game could potentially be a draw. I think it's playing at Crystal Palace, right?
Correct.
I think it will be a
Selhurst Park,
I think it will be a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. So both teams to exit this game still unbeaten then.
Right.
Interesting. We'll definitely have to keep a close eye on that game. Well, that's definitely one of the games of the weekend for me. I'll be watching that game in the 10 o'clock slot after looking at how Manchester United perform at 7:30 come Saturday morning. I'll be looking at how they perform in the 10 o'clock slot. These times are, of course, in Eastern Standard Time, viewers and subscribers. But another big game, Christoph, we have Everton versus West Ham. Everton versus West Ham. What's the call for that game?
West Ham has just been poor so far this season, getting a strange win at the
Yeah, in
first game.
fact, not to cut you, but in fact, that game, Everton versus West Ham, was scheduled for Saturday, but I
Mhm.
believe it has been pushed to Monday, Christoph. So this game is actually being played on Monday, but please continue with your thoughts.
I'll go with Everton. They have played well so far this season. That man Jack Grealish seems to have invigorated them and definitely invigorated the attack. So I'll go with Everton to win 2-0.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that call, to be honest. The form of West Ham has been poor. Everton is still unbeaten at their new home. And, they gave a good account of themselves, I would say, in the Merseyside derby. And as you mentioned, they have found a new lease on life, especially offensively, I would say, with the signings of Dewsbury Hall, Grealish, and Endai, who have been there before. If only Everton had a quality number nine, Christoph, if they had a striker who could take the chances, then this would be a team which I think would be punching for a top four position. But Beto, their number nine, their key striker, his finishing has been awful since the start of the season. He's definitely not the answer to Everton woes. They should definitely be looking to bring in a striker in the January window. So I do expect them to win. However, the form of West Ham have been poor, terrible, and confidence has been drained from that team. So Everton to win. I'm gonna call this one 3 goals to 1. I feel there should be goals in this game. So Everton to win, 3 goals to 1. The next game on the agenda is we have Leeds versus Bournemouth. Leeds at home versus Bournemouth. What says you?
Um, I think I'll go with that draw. Leeds. I like how Leeds play. They're high press. They're trying to win games. But I think this game potentially is a draw game. I'll go with 1-1 draw.
Well, Leeds is yet to lose at home, but Bournemouth to me has been the team of the season thus far. Gave a good account in that first game versus Liverpool, and since then they have beaten Spurs, which is one of the high flying teams. They did beat Spurs 2 goals to 0. Uh, I'm leaning towards Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth has enough to get a win versus this Leeds team. So Leeds, I think, will suffer their first defeat at home this season. I'm gonna go with Bournemouth to pinch it 1 goal to 0. So an away win for Bournemouth, 1-0 over Leeds. Then we have Man City at home to Burnley, Christoph. Man City at home to Burnley. I'm going to take the lead on this one, Christoph. Man City at home, that man Haaland. One word, Haaland. I don't see Burnley getting anything from this game. I feel Man City will keep a clean sheet, and this should be a routine win for Man City. On the back of that performance versus Arsenal and taking care of business midweek in the Carabao Cup, many of their first choice players were rested. I'm also hearing that Haaland may be nursing some sort of back injury, so he may not necessarily be 100%. But even at 50%, I expect Man City to win. Haaland on the score sheet. To me, this is a easy 3 goals to nil game for Man City. Man City to win, 3 goals to nil. What says you?
Yeah, I agree with you that I think Man City to win. Haaland has been in really good form this season. I think it's probably gonna be like 4-0 to be honest.
4-0. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Burnley has held their own at home, but on the road they have conceded quite a number of goals. In fact, they were the top defensive team in the championship. But since coming into the EPL, of the teams which came in, Sunderland and Leeds have a better defensive record than Burnley in terms of the promoted teams. So I don't see them keeping City at bay, and I don't think they will offer much going forward. It should be a dominant performance by Man City in this one. But again, you have to play the game. The ball is wrong, and this is the EPL. On any given match day, anything can actually happen. But I'm calling this one for City for sure. Then we have Forest versus Sunderland, Krista. Forest at home versus Sunderland. Forest under new management, Ange Postecoglou. Uh, they drew, I believe, in the Europa League game versus Real Betis. That man, Anthony Christoph from Manchester United, former Manchester United player, he continues to dazzle and delight over there in Spain. Uh, Igor Jesus getting a double in that Europa League versus Real Betis, but that game ending in a 2-2 draw. And Ange has been off to a poor start. There has been no new coach bounce as far as I can see in terms of the results for City. And I believe it will continue, Christoph. I believe it will indeed continue. Sunderland has been flying high. They are playing away, so this won't be an easy game. And I believe they could very much poke another hole into that Ange coffin. So I'm going to go out on a limb in this one, Christoph. I'm going to call this one 1-1. Sunderland to hold their own away to Forest. What says you?
Um, I give Sunderland the win. I think Sunderland
Sunderland to
will
win. Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I like how Sunderland have been playing. They're very attacking. They are very good at getting the ball forward quickly. And that game, I don't remember what game it was. They won 3-0. I was very impressed by
Oh,
the
I think that was against West Ham, if memory serves me correctly.
it
I
was
think it
against
was
West
West
Ham.
Ham. West
I
Ham
was
at
very
home, I believe.
I was very impressed by the play that I saw, and I think if they continue like that, I think they will win this game as well.
Yeah, this is definitely a sharp call for me. But yeah, I think Sunderland may get something from this game.
Yeah, I think Sunderland to win 3-1.
Sunderland to win 3-1. The next game we have on the agenda is Spurs versus Wolves. Spurs at home versus Wolves. What says you?
If I recall, Wolves has been struggling so far in the league. Tottenham, flying high. They still have their new manager bound, so I'll go with Tottenham to win 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, Wolves is rooted at the base of the table. They sit in 20th position after 5 games, while Spurs are flying high, sitting up there in third. They have an identical record to the record of Arsenal, Christoph, and I can see nothing other than a Spurs win in this one. This should be an easy 3 points for Thomas Frank. Uh, yeah, the Wolves seem to be one of the prime candidates at this point in time for a relegation dogfight, and they need to get themselves out of this slum ASAP. But yeah, I mean, based on how things have been progressing, based on how I've seen both teams playing, and based on the form of both teams, I think Spurs should have the better of this Wolves team. I think Spurs should be able to go out and win this one. I'm gonna go 3-0 for this one, Christoph. What says you?
Yeah, that's why I said.
3-0 as well?
Yeah.
All right. The next game we have on the agenda. Let's see. We have on Sunday, we have Aston Villa versus Fulham. Aston Villa versus Fulham. Aston Villa got their first goal of the season last week versus, I think it was Sunderland, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah.
Sunderland going down to 10 men.
Mm.
Matty Cash striking one from outside the 18-yard box, which deceived the keeper with a wicked swerve. That was their first goal. That game coming after four previous attempts. Can they repeat the feat, Christoph? Can they get some goals versus Fulham and indeed get their first win of the season?
Can they get a goal? Yes. I don't know if they will beat Fulham, however. Fulham, has been all right. I haven't considered them bad, but I also haven't considered them to be great. I think this could be a tough game for Aston Villa. Could also be a tough game for Fulham. So I'll go with a 1-1 or 2-2 draw for this one.
I'm gonna go against the grain in this one. Earlier, I thought Aston Villa could have won this game, but I'm beginning to question if Emery is on his way out. I'm not sure if these players have another gear to go up, Christoph, to be honest with you. Having seen their performance over there in Europe as well, I'm beginning to question whether or not the likes of Ollie Watkins is really going through a dreadful slump. Uh, and I think Fulham has enough quality to beat this team. This team, this Aston Villa team is lacking in confidence at the moment. And to me, if Fulham were to go ahead in this game, it could be curtains for Aston Villa. So I'm gonna definitely go against the grain in this one. I'm gonna put my faith in Fulham and back Fulham to get a win. And I feel based on form as well, they may very well keep this Aston Villa team out. So I'm gonna go 1-0 Christopher Fulham. 1-0 to Fulham, getting the away win. What says you?
Uh, 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw.
1-1 draw, 2-2 draw. Indeed, indeed. I think those are the games, viewers and subscribers. Those are the 10 games that are on for this weekend. But generally speaking, Christoph, what can we expect? What are you looking most forward to over this weekend? Is it the Arsenal game, or are you looking at the competition this week?
Um, I mean, I'll be probably watching the Liverpool and the Man City game. I do enjoy watching United lose, to be honest. Um,
Oh, did you had predicted United to lose versus Brentford?
I don't remember if I predicted them to lose. I did not predict them winning. I did not predict them winning. I know that for a fact. I did not predict them winning.
So
I
is
think,
either Man U losing or drawing then?
yeah, I think I'll go with that Brentford win. I think that's what I said. Brentford to
Right.
win 2-1.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I said.
indeed.
Brentford to
Indeed.
win 2-1.
Got you. So that's
Um,
one of the games you'll be keeping a keen eye on then.
yeah, I like to watch those games.
Interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this weekend. What I find fascinating though, Christoph, is that as we get deeper and deeper in the season, these predictions become more difficult from week to week, is what I am seeing. The teams are so closely packed. It's hard to differentiate them from week to week, to be honest with you. Look, for example, look at that Aston Villa Fulham game. I think that should be a very close game. It's almost like spinning a coin. It can go either way, or it can very well go down the middle, to be honest with you. So these games are very tough. These games are very tough. The teams have spent well in the transfer window, and it's very tough going game to game. It only takes one bad run for a team to be looking at possibly dropping in that
I
relegation
mean,
zone, or for a manager to even lose his job.
it's tough to call on some of these games, but also it's probably because some of the better teams have not hit their top form, in
Right.
my opinion. So
So
Liverpool,
how
Arsenal,
long will
Man
it take
City.
though?
That's
What's
the
the
question.
number of games you're putting it on?
I don't know how long it's gonna take them. I think specifically for Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City, I think the new signings that have come in have kind of somewhat disrupted the squad. They're still getting the results, right? But they haven't gelled together well enough where you're seeing a very fluid game from all of them. So I think
I'm not even sure I agree with that perspective, Christoph, to be honest. I just think the other teams around them have stepped up their game. That's
no,
what I think. So it's not
I
so the result is much more competitive. They're not allowing these top teams to gel. They are prepared for these teams. The manager have prepared them well during the course of the week. And come match day, they are just disrupting the flows of these teams. That's what I think. I don't think it's a case only of not gelling, but I just think the team they're playing against is playing some good football.
okay. I mean, that is a potentially fair assessment. I do think these teams have not hit their top gear as yet, so I think there's more to come
So
from
after
them.
10 games, then, Christoph, we could make a better assessment
I think
after
so.
quarter of the season. I mean, by 10 games, these teams should hit their top game because they're not only playing games in the EPL, they are playing games in Europe. They're also playing in cup competition. So by they reach 10 games in the EPL, maybe throughout the season, they would have played 15, 16 games.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see how things progress. Most people are predicting that Liverpool, for example, has another gear to go up. Arsenal still hasn't fully gelled or purring as yet, and same with Man City. But I just feel that the teams they are playing are not taking any defeat lying down. We are not seeing any heavy score lines. Even when you go down to 10, it is still quite a competitive games. I just think these managers have been studying each other and have been putting in place various tactics to negate or take advantage of weak areas within each other's team. So I just think the competition is much more stiffer as far as I see this season, at least at the start of the season. Or the other teams came in the season, better prepared. And that difference in the gap is really just a difference in terms of the quality of the players. So time will definitely tell. Time will definitely tell. But any final thoughts though, Christoph, as we wrap things up? Any quick final thoughts?
Yeah, I as always just looking forward to be watching some good football on the weekend, and hopefully there aren't any, referees deciding that they must be the focus of these matches.
Well, thus far, you've been pleased with the refereeing decision, Christoph. I haven't
Uh,
heard you
not
complaining too
no,
much thus far.
not fully, but there haven't been anything egregious. I haven't said there is nothing egregious robbing points from any team so far. But there
Well,
have
there
been
you
decisions that are question marks, but it's not egregious. It's not affecting the potential outcome of the game as it.
Well, thanks for your thoughts there, Christoph. There you have it, viewers and subscribers, the thoughts of Christoph. Thank you again for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Please remember to subscribe, share, hit that like button, and of course, leave your comments in the comment section. Who will win that Manchester United game? Will Arsenal finally unleash the jackal and release the chains of their attack? Can they get a win over Newcastle? Leave your comments in the comment section, viewers and subscribers. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.